If you're tired of guessing how to get booked out, I've got something for you. My booked out blueprint starts with a private 45-minute interview where I learn your business, your goals, and what's actually holding you back. From that, I create a custom roadmap showing your best route to booked out. No fluff, just clarity. It's only $397, and if you move forward into Booked Out in 6, my 6-mission program, that $397 is fully credited. Check the show notes to get started. Welcome to the Tiny Marketing Podcast. I'm Sarah Noel Block, and this show is made for solo consultants who want to get booked out without burning out. If you've ever thought, I just want this to feel easier, you're not alone. Around here, we focus on simple, sustainable growth that actually fits into your life so growth feels doable instead of overwhelming.
My name is Jonny. I'm a sales trainer and strategist from Bridge Selling.
Awesome. That was straight to the point. Thank you for joining me today. And we are talking about how you can have a better sales call. What would you say are the 3 things that people are doing wrong on sales calls?
The big one is just going into it with no strategy at all, like no set game plan for how that call is going to be run. And because you're doing that, you don't have a game plan. Because you don't have a game plan, you don't have a way to score and assess where you're at. And then because you don't have either of those 2 things, your follow-up and your next steps are usually sort of random and sporadic. And so I think those are 3 of the big things. No set game plan, which means you're grading and you're scoring your deals differently from one to the next. And then it makes it impossible to have momentum moving one conversation to the next to a closed deal. So that's sort of 3 things lumped in one that all come from just having no game plan, having no strategy or structure for a call.
And so most of the audience here are solo consultants and they're small teams. How should they be assessing if someone is a good fit or not? Like, how do they score when they don't have maybe a CRM that would typically be scoring?
Yeah, well, it's super simple. A lot of times when people hear scoring or like analyzing deals, we're thinking tech, we're thinking CRMs.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes into my mind.
This can be done. This can be done on a spreadsheet. This can be done in your brain. This can be done on a notepad. And the way we like to look at it is anytime you're closing a deal, you're crossing a bridge. You're getting your customer from one side of the bridge to the next. And the way we approach it is across that bridge, there are 6 different steps. And how we score a deal is whether or not that deal, that buyer, how they got through those 6 steps. And so part of that is what we call the bridge score.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you should be looking at whether or not someone's a qualified buyer, and it's different for everybody because we all sell different things to different people. But the 4 main ways to look at it. 1, do they have a problem that you can solve? So the first thing we look at is, do they genuinely have the right problem for you to solve? The next is, do they have the authority and the budget to make the buying decisions? So are you talking to someone, if you're selling, especially in B2B or larger B2B, oftentimes you won't be speaking to the decision maker. But if you're a solopreneur and you have smaller offers, likely you're speaking to the decision maker. So that's just something to keep in mind. The third piece is, does their timeline align with yours? So do you have capacity for now or later? And does that line up with the buyer? And the fourth thing is, what is the likelihood that buyer is going to be a raving fan or a huge success story? So be thinking of it in those 4 categories. Does this person have a problem you can solve? Do they have the budget to pay full price and make that decision? Do they have the timeline that works with yours? And are they likely to be a success story?
So that could be easy enough done, like if you have a Google Doc and you just have a checklist on there where every time you have a sales call, maybe you have your little spiel on there, or at least the questions that you want answered. And then you can have that checklist. Do they hit these? And that can be
great idea.
A way to score.
Most of those things can be sussed out on an intake form. A lot of them can be. So you can have a really good idea even coming into a call. Does this person check those boxes or not? And even in conversation with someone, you can be really honest and say, hey, as we dive in, the best fit for this program or for this offer is this, and give them a bit of a rundown, save everybody's time by being clear like that.
Yeah, that's such a good idea to like bring to the forefront is allow people to self-identify in or out from the beginning. That makes it so much easier and saves everybody a lot of time. Okay, so when I think about like we need to score, we need to find out this information about someone. I automatically think either we have like a beat sheet that we're trying to hit or a template or a script. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you don't want to have to follow a script. You shouldn't have to follow a script. Typically, what I like to think of is what we call magic pivots. So there are different checkpoints and different steps in a sales call. If it feels overly scripted and the whole thing is being run by a script, no one's going to feel connection. So instead, I would focus on what are the parts of the call that feel most difficult to you, and can you really work on some language, some pivots that are going to help you guide the conversation in that direction so that you don't feel tense and you don't feel stressful. Maybe you have a hard time asking for the sale or talking about the finances. Can you create some magic pivots that you do get rehearsed and scripted within those pivots, but the rest of your call should feel organic? And the ultimate end place with any magic pivot or scripted language is that it never comes across like a script.
Yeah. I always find scripts or even pitch decks, they all feel like, this is not my vibe. I'm not invested in this. I want to talk about those magic pivots. So let's say I'm on a sales call and it's come to that point where I need to figure out, do you have the budget for this offer? Like, is it worth moving you forward into like the next step? But I feel awkward. I don't know how to do it. What are some pivots I can use?
In the scenario you're talking about, I'd ask you, where are you in the call typically when that situation might come up? Are you at the end? Are you in the middle? Walk me through that.
Yeah, for me, it's probably like 75% through the call is when I'm usually asking about the budget. Probably should happen earlier, but let's say it's at 75%.
Well, sure, 75%. One way to go about this is you can mention it early on. So mention it as early in the call as possible. That can help disarm the situation, because if you wait too late and you wait till the end, what usually happens is the buyer, they might have sticker shock, or two, they just haven't put any thought into what they're willing to spend. And so if you wait till the end and you only have 5 minutes, 6 minutes left in the conversation, the natural thing to say is, thanks for all this info. Let me put some thought into it and get back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The better way to go about it is as early as you possibly can. Say, hey, typically the program or our services cost this, or hey, our program is this. And we'll talk about the specifics about it, but just wanted to get that on your radar. Is that something that could potentially work for you? What you'll find is usually people will say, yeah, we might be able to make that work, or that shouldn't be an issue. Or they'll say, no, that's completely not an option. Now, the beauty of it is if you get that last result where they say, absolutely under no option, like under no world would I be able to afford this, then you end the call, or you say, well, great, you've got my time for the next 20 minutes, and maybe you do some free coaching or something. But most of the time people will say, yes, that's a possibility, or we could probably make that work. And what happens to the buyer is when you confront that earlier on in the conversation, they now have the time to talk themselves into why it's worth that as you go through the rest of your value prop and the rest of your program. And so now they know the price and they're sort of adding up all the things as to why it may be worth that. So one way to get better at it is squeeze it in earlier, hit it head on. And then if you wait till the end and you're nervous, that energy comes off on the buyer. So typically I would just say, get ahead of it early, be right up front with it.
Yeah. And, they're always wondering, like they're on that call because they're curious about money is part of that. So you could just like break the ice and say, okay, you're probably wondering about the money. So let's talk about that first.
I love that. And the way you just said that right there, you're probably wondering about the money. Let's talk about that first. That is a perfect magic pivot right there. And you might just get really good at saying that. And way to go. For anybody listening, if you heard that, that is a great line, because listen to how Sarah said it there. It sounded organic because we're just having a conversation. but she didn't say, let's talk budget, let's talk price point. She said more casually, you're probably worrying about the money. Let's talk about that first. That is a magic pivot right there. So something to tuck away and use.
Excellent. I'm going to use that from now on. Okay. So we're on a sales call. And okay, I feel pretty comfortable on sales calls. But let's say I'm not. I'm nervous. It makes me so uncomfortable. And I hate talking about money. I hate feeling salesy. It's all gross to me. How do I make this feel natural and conversational when that's not how I feel?
One thing to think through is doing some soul searching for anyone on the other side of this that feels like that, is like it's grimy and slimy, is maybe making sure you're selling something that you really like to sell and you really enjoy selling makes all the difference in the world. And the other part of it is often that money side of it. We don't want to feel weird about taking money from somebody else. And so when we get really in a good state of mind that the money being spent is money well spent, it gets a lot easier. So I would say if there's something, let's say you're listening and you're in charge of, most of this audience is not like a sales rep at a larger company, you're selling something that you've developed yourself, an offer.
Yeah, most of it.
And so what can you do? Yeah, what can you do to that offer to make it that much more convicting in your soul? And when you're starting out early on, I've been in business for myself my whole professional career. There are some times when you need to lower the price of something so you have that conviction behind it because you know it's a home run deal. And there are times when you need to raise it because it's worth way more. So if you're selling maybe you can enhance the offer to get more excited about it, but sometimes you need to sell it a little lower to really get that confidence and see it work and stack those wins before you can raise it. I think anytime I've had apprehension in selling something because of it's felt weird, it's because I lack some form of conviction behind the sale. And those are some ways to get around it.
That's spot on. That's what I've always seen too. Like if you don't believe in the offer, if you don't think that value is truly there, that's when you start feeling uncomfortable. So looking at the price, that's where you can start, because it's usually like, I feel like I'm robbing them, or you have a hard time on the other end where you're like, I feel like I'm giving this away at this price point. So like, I don't even want to bother. Like those are the two extremes that I'm constantly seeing, where when I'm really comfortable selling an offer, it falls into, I feel like they're getting way more value than they're paying for, but in like a good way. Like it's not taking advantage of me, but like I feel good in giving this to them.
Yeah, that's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot. I think it should always feel that way, because if your buyer feels that same way too, they're going to pass along words to other people. They're going to want to buy again. You always want to feel like you're on that side of the value scale, that you're over delivering.
Yeah. And I think like on the consultant end, like the people who are listening to this right now, you can usually get to that point where you feel like you're giving something away that's really valuable for a fair price point when you're looking at your offer and you're fixing any like deliverability issues, like things that take up extra time that don't need to. So just looking at that offer and taking out anything that's unnecessary. So it's not eating up your time so much, but it's high value. So I feel like it's usually an operations adjustment that can get you into that place.
I agree. Or even a slight positioning, slight messaging thing. I think of working with one client on a project where they're selling a single day workshop, and they would position it as a single day workshop. But the reality was there were a couple follow-up calls. So really it was a 30-day engagement. And even making that slight shift on saying, hey, rather than this is a one-day workshop, that feels high pressure. Like, what if we don't get everything done in the one day? And without even changing much, repositioning it to a 30-day engagement, close rates went through the roof. So those are some tactics and things to do to, one, increase the service, the quality of service, over deliver on value, and make it seem like a no-brainer without really changing much at all.
That's a really good point, because when you set time parameters around your offer, people start doing the math and thinking, So it costs this much per hour to work with that person. Whereas if you give the offer a name and it's not so much around the parameters, like this is a sprint or this is an intensive instead of this is a 4-hour workshop, mind shift. There's people are no longer doing the math around your time. They're looking more at the outcome.
Smart.
This is what I'll get at the end.
Yep. Spot on.
Okay, let's look at the next point. So you said, how do you close more deals without more leads? So how do you improve your conversion rate, which is something all of my clients are wanting right now. I just brought in a whole bunch of new people into Booked Out in 6, and they're all in that point where they're selling their gateway offers. So everybody scoot in a little bit closer right now. Hey there, amazing founders. Ready to take your business to the next level? Join our Gateway Offer Challenge and watch your sales soar. In this challenge, you'll get mini Gateway Offer trainings to perfect your offers. Learn how to structure your documentation so it sells for you. Create buzz around your offer and identify eager clients with our sales training. Plus, get exclusive outreach templates that take the guesswork out of prospecting. And because selling should be fun, we've gamified this challenge. Who can sell the most gateway offers? And let's not forget, you'll also learn how to effortlessly upsell to your signature offer. Ready to level up? Join the Gateway Offer Challenge today. Your business will thank you. Go to challenge.sarahnoelblock.com. That is CHALLENGE.SARAHNOELBLOCK.com.
Yeah. Love it. Well, I like to think of the concept of revenue hiding in plain sight. So if you didn't change your offer, let's assume your offer's down. Let's assume you kind of know how you're getting your leads, but maybe your close rate's struggling and suffering. So rather than stressing about how can I get more leads, now the question is, how can I increase my revenue by just being better in conversation and better in the calls? And there's really two ways to do this. We talk about you need to have a game plan and a strategy, and some of the things we've already talked about earlier, the magic pivots, the ways to hit the money side head on, all those work. All those are super helpful to build out sort of your game plan. One thing that so many people forget to do is locking in next steps and locking in momentum because they're afraid of getting a no. We'd almost rather, our human insecurities would rather live with a deal in maybe they'll get back to me. They said they'd get back to me, or I'll follow up.
Purgatory.
We'd rather live in that space. Yeah, we'd rather live in deal purgatory or follow up hell, like I like to call it, if we want to use the different naming of it, but following up constantly because we don't have a yes or a no. And so the way to eliminate that and spike your close rate is to get really good at when there's 5-6 minutes left in the call. Hey, what are your thoughts? And you know, what feels like the right next step for you is something you may ask the other party. And then never let that conversation end without one of three things happening. Either deciding it's not a good fit and clean break, or closing the deal, or scheduling the next conversation. If it's anything but those three, the deal is good as lost. And so I would get very good at just implementing what are our next steps and what are we doing after this call. That will probably double the close rate of many people listening here. A simple tactic or strategy you can try is what we call 3 next steps. My step as the salesperson, your step as the buyer, our next step together. It clicks really well together. So as you wind down a conversation, you can say, you suss out where they're at, you see what they want to do. First step, I'm going to send the contract. Next step, you're going to sign, and then we're going to schedule our onboarding together. That could be for someone ready to buy. For someone in the middle, it might be, hey, first I'm going to send you this case study. Next, you give it a read and let me know all the questions you have about it. And third, let's meet again in 2 weeks. How does that work for you? And if you can get past the fear of them saying, no, I don't really want to meet with you again. If you can get past that, you're going to get so much more clarity and way more closed deals.
Yeah, I really like that framework. I'm also a big believer you need to have that next step on that sales call. That's why I love gateway offers, because once you have that call, it's like, okay, the next step is to book your gateway offer. We can get a time now. The next one I have available is this date and this time. Does that work for you? And it's an easy way to ease someone into an entry point offer.
Spot on.
Okay. And the last thing we wanted to touch on is how to stop guessing on discovery calls so you can guide your prospects through to the next step. That sounds like this. Is that this?
Yeah, this is a huge part of it. The other part is none of this is possible if we don't understand the real pain point or the real problem behind what the other person is trying to achieve. And it's very easy to start a conversation with, hey, talk to me a little bit about, what you'd like to learn, or tell me what caught your attention and what led you to this call. But the best sellers we know are asking 11 or more questions in their calls. And close rates go 74% higher when a sales rep can ask 11 or more questions.
That's interesting.
And that's for a whole bunch of reasons. Yeah. And if we really think through that, why is that? It's because people are getting to real pain points by 11 questions.
Yeah.
You may not need to ask all 11 questions, but if we're thinking about how can we uncover pain points, that makes our positioning of our service, our 3-step plan at the end, it's all relevant to a pain point rather than trying to figure something out and hoping and making, hoping it works out. So really, you can't guide anyone to the next step unless you have a very, very clear idea of the pain point and you've repeated it back to them. And you've said, hey, based on what you've told me, what I've got here is this. This is your situation. This is the outcome it's creating. This is what's at stake if you don't do anything about it. Is there anything I missed? That's one magic pivot that I would recommend a lot of people use is that what's I missed? Is there anything I missed? Because once you get used to saying that, people will open up with a lot of gold. And between all the different tactics we've talked about today, you should have enough to guide forward to the next step. And don't be afraid to tell someone it's not a good fit. I think that's another really important thing.
Yeah, I like that. Actually reminds me of when I was just interviewing people for content. Is there anything that I should know that I haven't asked you before? Is like a perfect question that you could ask on a sales call.
Yeah. Use that one.
Yeah, I will. I'll take that over for my article writing days. Oh, I remember what question I was going to ask you. So you said that you should have at least 11 questions. Are there any specific questions that we never want to miss?
What I always lean on, or what I think everyone who's selling anything should lean on, is what I call cheat code questions, which are really clarifying questions. There's 3 of them. Why is that? Can you tell me more about that? And can you go a little bit deeper on that, right? Just going the same question. There's 3 different variations. And you can ask those questions over and over again. You could ask, can you tell me more about that? 3 or 4 times in different ways to get to your 11 questions. Mm-hmm. So what for sure, you want to ask, like, what's the surface level reason we're having this conversation? Tell me a little bit about your situation. Beyond that, you want to ask something timing related. So why now? Why are you interested in this process now? Or what led you to book this call now as opposed to 6 months ago or 3 weeks ago or the future? And that's a really important one because that will help you fill in the gaps of your next steps at the end of a conversation. If you're not sure where to lead them next, timing will help fill in all those gaps. So don't forget your cheat code questions and don't forget to ask about timing.
Okay, that's perfect. Now, for anybody who wants to go deeper with you, you have a books. Fix Your Broken Sales Call right here. And can you tell me a little bit more about that? And we'll have the link in the show notes too.
Sure. Yeah. Fix Your Broken Sales Calls. It's a book on how can you design your ideal sales call? How can you make one that works well for you, that accomplishes all the steps on the bridge we talked about earlier? And then coming out of that, you're going to have your own secret scoring formula for how to rate a deal and a sales call. And it's not super techy. It's super simple and easy to execute on. And the book will give you examples on how other companies have used the framework, how other solopreneurs have used the framework, and how you can build it for yourself.
I am so excited to get into that. I told you I'm in the middle of a launch right now, so I haven't read anything for pleasure or business, but I am so excited to dig in this. I can't even explain how much I love content around sales because it felt like such a mystery to me when I started my business. So it just excites me so much to understand the psychology, and it's just, I actually enjoy it now.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy the book too.
Yes, I can't wait to get into it. Before we wrap up, how can people find you online and how can they work with you?
Yeah, bridgeselling.com is the best way to book a time. You can talk with me if you're having struggles in your sales process. We'd be happy to learn more about it and see if we can do something to help you out. LinkedIn, Jonny Holsten. You'll see my name in the show notes. That's a good place to connect. Also, our work is a mixture of training, coaching, and strategy. So wherever you fall in that spectrum, be happy to have a chat and see if we can help you get dialed in on your sales.
Awesome. And who are you typically working with?
We're working with sales teams, so a mixture of people who have larger sales teams where maybe they need to level up the skills of their people, but we also do have options for solopreneur and small businesses. If you want to do a workshop that's maybe half a day or a full day, or 30-day engagement like we talked about earlier with the couple check-ins after that workshop, we can help you too. Just let us know what situation you're in, and we're happy to have a chat either way and point you somewhere else if we can't help.
Yeah, awesome. I needed to know because I talk to so many people and they're always asking for referrals. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. The most important thing is, you've got to know what you're selling and you've got to have your lead flow figured out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. If this episode made things feel a little more doable, I'd love to help you take the next step with the Booked Out Blueprint. It's a practical, low-pressure session to clarify your offers, your marketing, and what actually moves the needle. You can book yours through the link in the show notes. You don't have to figure it out alone. Hey there, fellow founders. Are you looking to unlock the secrets behind rapid business growth? Join my vibrant meetup group where we dive into masterclasses on game-changing strategies every single month. We've tackled topics like building a lean marketing engine, crafting killer lead magnets, and leveraging gateway offers to sell high-ticket offers. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next one. Come share your experiences, learn from the best, and let's grow together. Sign up and be part of the next masterclass by going to events.sarahnoelblock.com. That's events.sarahnoelblock.com.